I was not a fan of all the incest. Like, that's crazy. Me saying incest so many times is an indicator that there was too much. Come on now. It was weird. Hi, hello, and welcome to another episode of the Cozy Little Book Club. I'm your host, Taylor, and Boo is around here somewhere, so he'll probably be joining soon. I can actually hear him cleaning himself. It's kind of gross. Anyway, thanks for joining. Today we're going to talk about a pretty interesting book called The Bourbon Thief by Tiffany Reisz. Reisz or Rise? I'm not sure, but it's by Tiffany Reisz, and the book is called The Bourbon Thief. If you're nosy and interested in a bunch of family drama, I mean a lot, then this book might be for you. And as you know, I like to give a trigger warning beforehand. Some parts of this book have to deal with incest and rape. So just wanted to let you know that if you all do decide to read this book. I'm gonna start off by saying that it really took me a long time to review this book because it just had a lot going on and I kept putting it off. So now I'm finally ready to tell the story. The story starts off on a hot Kentucky evening at a bar where the wealthy bachelor, Duncan McQueen, sets his eye on the alluring and seductive Paris, an intriguing stranger that he plans to conquer that night. After a nighttime rendezvous together, Duncan wakes up to find that his mysterious stranger has turned into a thief. But she doesn't take off with his cash or jewels. No. Instead, she takes off with a priceless heirloom, a bottle of bourbon worth $1 million. Yeah, pretty pricey. While Paris doesn't make it far as Duncan's security stop her from her great escape, instead of locking her up, Duncan listens to Paris as she explains why this bottle of bourbon belongs to her and not him. And so, the story within a story begins. Paris goes into the history of the original family of the red thread bourbon bottle, the Maddox family, an elite bourbon distilling family from the heart of Louisville, Kentucky. The story begins in 1978 on the 16th birthday of Tamara Maddox. Tamara has always shown an interest in Levi Maddox, the hired hand who manages the Maddox stables. Her mother's rage over this is what caused the domino effect of events that ultimately changed the family forever. Shortly after Tamara's birthday, the Kentucky River flooded the Maddox estate, and Tamara survived to only find out the true and horrifying story of red thread bourbon. She learns more from her real family tree, uncovers decades-old secrets about how her family's legacy of wealth and power stems from roots of deceit and lies. Through the story, we find out how red thread came to be and how those roots came to be its downfall. And as the story winds down, Paris's identity is revealed and we find out whether or not she ultimately gets what she wants. There were a lot of themes in this book. I would say it definitely has to do with power and corruption, lies and family secrets, identity, race, and love and betrayal. You'll find out why I said love like that. So I'll be honest, I was pretty over this book a lot of times while reading it. And I finished it purely because I'm nosy and I wanted to know, after all that happened, what was the ending? And I also just kind of wanted it to be over. I just wanted to know what the ending was and let's just get through it. I wanted to see what all this damn drama amounted to. They lost me a lot in the love story between Levi and Tamara. It was a lot to take in, and honestly, it was a little bit dizzying at some points. Between the family drama, the love story between Levi and Tamara, all the secrets just compounding on top of each other. It was a lot. Okay, it was a lot. And don't get me wrong, I can appreciate drama in a book, but instead of it being like, oh my God, it was more like, oh my God, like very annoying. I was like, get to it. Come on, all right, let's go. Like, that's how I felt reading this book. And it's crazy because I'm on Goodreads and there is a lot of back and forth. Either people really love it or they really were just over it. And I think I lean more towards the people who were over it. Every book is not going to be a hit, and that's okay. That's okay. Okay, so let's get into what I did and didn't like about this book. Let's just start with the fact that there's just a little bit too much incest in it for me, which is already a wild statement to say in the beginning, but there was just a lot. And because it was based on people's made up facts, it was like, is this incest or is it not? Like, there were times where I found that there were definitely parts of incest. I'm sorry to say that so much. There are definitely parts of it. But then there was also parts where it's like, well, are they actually related? Like, is it incest? So it was just too much. It was too much for me. And I just was not a fan. I'll just leave it at that. I was not a fan of all the incest. Like, that's crazy. Me saying incest so many times is an indicator that there was too much. Come on now. It was weird. Not my cup of tea, okay? Not my cup of tea. Just saying. Like, her granddaddy was trying to set her up. It was kind of giving, like, old kings and rulers and royal families, like how they kept it in the family to keep that pure blood going. You know, very strange. It's also giving, like, Game of Thrones, but not nearly as interesting. Sorry, no shade, Tiffany. This book was a lot, okay? I'm like, okay, just hurry the hell up. So her granddaddy was trying to set up Tamara and impregnate her so that they can keep this family line going and have a boy heir. Her granddaddy was ruthless and evil as hell. And honestly, so was her mama. Like, her whole family was pretty trifling. And because of that, her dad found out that her mama was trifling and he was dealing with his own secrets. So he went away. You know, it was a lot going on. It was a lot going on in this whole story. And that's just such a small part of it, okay? They got a lot going on in this twisted ass family. Like, damn, the drama. It's a lot. Also, I'll be honest, I was not a fan of the main character. Like, I've never been, well, I can't say never. It's either this. If there's a main character that I don't like, it kind of goes like this. Either they're annoying throughout the entire point, like the whole story. They might have some redeeming parts, but usually they're just overall, like, not a fan fave for me. Or they might be kind of sickening. And I don't mean sickening like that's sickening. No, like, sickening is like a family word. But they might be like kind of sickening and just being annoying. But then they kind of gradually, it's like, okay, you won me over. Now you're not as annoying, and I understand your struggle, your strife. Because there's definitely some books and some even some TV shows that there's been characters like that. But Tamara was very bratty and very whiny. And sometimes her thinking just didn't make sense. So it kind of reminded me of how some animes, old and even some new ones, how they kind of make the women really dumb and annoying and whiny. That's what it reminded me of. And I'm not a fan of that kind of anime. Let me just say that. And so I'm not a fan of that kind of character. And she was just, she was sickening. Like, I'm just, girl, figure out your shit and let's get on with it. She just caused a lot of problems too. She was very annoying. I don't know how to say it. She was annoying. Mostly annoying. There were times where I was like, okay, Tamara, cool. But then it was like immediately right after, reneged. Like, you annoying. She had a few moments where it's like, okay, she's thinking. We're using that brain. And then other times, immediately after, it was like, what are you doing? So that's how I felt about Tamara. And to be honest, I wasn't fully into Levi. He made a lot of dumb decisions. He was a few years older than Tamara. I forgot how old, but there was at least a 4 to 6 year age gap. Maybe older. I really don't remember because I was just so over this book. I just chucked it when I was done. That's why I have no book cover for y'all. So I'll just add it right here. Here's the book cover. So like I said, Levi did not make a lot of great decisions, and him having that age gap with Tamara and still doing a lot of dumb shit and just believing her was very, not even naive. I don't even know what other word would be. it was just goofy. It was just goofy as hell. I'm just like, bro, all these signs are pointing out to you to not do what you're doing. And you just was like, did it again. I'm doing whatever I want. It's that free will thing. So you can't be mad at it. It's free will. People gonna do what they want to do. So this isn't quite a spoiler alert because this is kind of what started the whole story. But on Tamara's 16th birthday, Levi was in the stable because that's what he does. He's a stable hand. And she loves riding horses. And so it was her 16th birthday. She wanted to give him a kiss. She was like, Levi, can you give me a little kiss? Like, you know, real Southern. And he was like, I think he used to call her rotten because she was spoiled rotten. And they're just so annoying. Oh my God. Sorry. Okay. But yeah, so she was like, can you just give me a little kiss, Levi? And he was like, rotten. No, I can't. So anyway, of course he gives her a kiss. Like, yo, grown ass, no, you should not have been kissing that little ass girl. Like, tisk, tisk, Levi. It's very weird. Like, sure, she begged him. Who cares, bro? Who cares? Like, and that's another thing. He was very smart. He didn't go to school, but he read a lot. He read all kind of philosophy books and medical books. Like, this man was not an idiot. He was very smart, but he just didn't make good decisions. And so for that, it's just like, what are we doing? Levi was annoying too. I really didn't have any favorite characters in this book. Let me just say that. There were no favorite characters in this book at all. Everybody was sickening. And then to kiss this girl for most of the book, you didn't even like her. Again, he called her rotten. So the logic was just not logicking. The brainwaves and synapses were not connecting. So some people call this a love story, but this was not a love story that I personally could get behind. Trauma bonding is not how I would like to fall in love. But that's just me. But be serious. Now, y'all know I love a good flashback and present, back and forth kind of thing. But I don't feel like this really progressed the story that much. So the story is basically Paris telling a story to Duncan. But I don't think that they needed to go back to Paris so much because it didn't progress. Like, yes, it's great that we're bringing her back to keep her, I guess, relevant, but it didn't progress the story for me. I just felt like they just kind of threw like, oh, here's 2 pages of, remember, we're in the present, here's Paris. It just didn't, it wasn't doing anything for me, so I didn't see the purpose in it. I just didn't see the purpose. For me, it just felt like they were just abrupt pauses to the story where they could have just kept going with Tamara and Levi and all their drama. Like, if you're going to give me drama, don't abruptly stop it for no reason. You know what I mean? That was just my take on it. And I'll also say this. It's not really a spoiler alert because this is literally how this country was built. There are so many companies and families that have built their wealth and success on the backs of Black people and slaves. Like, it's disgusting. And I will say that one thing I did like is that Tamara did want to rectify the situation within her family. So I will say that I did like that some people were getting what they deserved after the labor, the ideation, and the creativity of their work. And that's on reparations. I will say that there was some really good imagery in this story. I felt like I was really there when the Maddox estate was flooding. Then there was also a part where they were on this secluded island. It was just very lush. And I just felt like Tiffany did a really good job of portraying that. It made me more interested in the story. And that alone kind of helped keep me going, that there were so many great images. Plus, I would love to hang out at a secluded island that's full of lushness and by the water. That's a dream for me one day. I will say that if you're a drinker and interested in the history of bourbon, there were some facts and tidbits that could be interesting to some people, but for me, it just wasn't that interesting, except the wood. The wood and how they talk about the process of how they pick the wood, what kind of wood is needed for the bourbon. That was interesting, but otherwise it was over my head. I really didn't. It didn't make it that much more appealing to me. Also, there were just some subplots that were left unfinished, and I wasn't a fan of that. So I had some questions, and I don't really like to feel that way after a book, especially if there's no sequel. So wasn't a fan of that either. Like, tie that shit up. Don't leave no loose ends, or in their case, no loose threads. And y'all, this book was a slow burn for me. There were times it would rev up and then it drop right back down to being slow. And so for that to not answer all the questions, I was not happy. I was not happy after reading this book, okay? So overall, I would say that this book was okay. I read this book a few months ago and I decided to review it because, you know, all the books that I've reviewed so far have gotten really good reviews because I really like them. But there are some books that I might not like and you might like. So I thought it would be fair and equal to showcase this book as well. Overall, I think the book was okay. There were a lot of drawn out parts that I just couldn't get past and I wanted them to rev it up. I understand the need to build up anticipation, but when we got to it, I was just left underwhelmed. So with that, I give this book a rating of 2 out of 5 golden bookmarks. It was incredibly exasperating, this book. This book also has some Inception-esque kind of parts to it because there were at least 4 stories within this one book. So if you're into that, this might be a book for you. So once again, that wraps up another episode of the Cozy Little Book Club. Thanks so much for joining. If you've made it to the end, please comment a little stack of books emoji or any other emoji that you feel inclined to use. That's just my fave. And if you've read the book, please let me know how you felt about it. I would love to hear if anybody loved this book, if you hated it. Please let me know. Let's have a discussion about it because I'm intrigued to hear your thoughts. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and follow us on all socials at Cozy Little Book Club. And stick around because we'll be having a new book review every week. Thank you again for tuning in. I hope you have a lovely day. And remember, when you open a book, you open your mind. Peace. Instead, she takes off with a priceless heirloom. A bottle of bourbon, a bottle of bourbon. Okay.